Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lim. Namaskar. Coming up in NewsHour. India and the EU agree to strengthen cooperation over peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific. Also set a target for a free trade agreement by the end of 2025. US President Trump and the Ukrainian leader Zelenskyy to sign an agreement on rare earth minerals later in Washington, also to discuss US security guarantees for Ukraine. New tariffs of the United States on Mexico, Canada and China come into force from March 4. And Jos Buttler steps down as England's white ball captain following the Champions Trophy exit. The Three Lions' poor run of ODI form stretches back to the 2023 World Cup. India and the European Union have agreed upon a free trade agreement by the end of 2025. The European Commission President, Ursula von der Leyen, led a high-level delegation to India. Interactions were held at the leaders' level as well as at the ministerial level, with 22 commissioners from the EU travelling to India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi highlighted 8 priority areas of cooperation. Here's our report.
India and the European Union set a cooperation framework during Prime Minister Modi's meeting with the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and the EU College of Commissioners in New Delhi on Friday.
हमारी पार्टनरशिप को एलिवेट और एक्सेलरेट करने के लिए कई महत्वपूर्ण निर्णय लिए गए हैं। ट्रेड, टेक्नोलॉजी, इन्वेस्टमेंट, इनोवेशन, ग्रीन ग्रोथ, सिक्योरिटी, स्किलिंग और मोबिलिटी पर सहयोग का एक ब्लूप्रिंट तैयार किया गया है।
We are the two largest democracies in the world. And under your leadership, Prime Minister, it has been thriving. We are bound by shared convictions and values. From resilient supply chains, we are shared interest to a free and open Indo-Pacific. We're working together.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi highlighted 8 priority areas of future cooperation. To conclude a beneficial FTA and investment protection agreement swiftly, to enhance supply chain resilience in electronics, semiconductors, telecom, engineering, defense and pharma for diversification and de-risking, and to transform connectivity through the IMEC corridor.
कनेक्टिविटी के क्षेत्र में इंडिया, मिडिल ईस्ट, यूरोप इकोनॉमिक कॉरिडोर यानी आईमेक उसे आगे ले जाने के लिए ठोस कदम उठाए जाएंगे। मुझे विश्वास है कि आईमेक ग्लोबल कॉमर्स, सस्टेनेबल ग्रोथ और प्रॉस्पेरिटी को ड्राइव करने वाला इंजन साबित होगा।
Other priority areas are to advance the technology and innovation in DPI, AI, quantum computing, space and 6G, to foster climate action and green energy through sustainable urbanization, water and clean energy, to collaborate in defense through co-development and co-production, to enhance security cooperation against terrorism, extremism, maritime security, cyber security, and space security, to simplify migration, mobility, Schengen visas, and EU blue cards for stronger people-to-people ties.
साइबर सिक्योरिटी, मैरीटाइम सुरक्षा और काउंटर टेररिज्म पर हम सहयोग के लिए आगे बढ़ेंगे। इंडो पैसिफिक क्षेत्र में शांति, सुरक्षा, स्थिरता और समृद्धि के महत्व पर दोनों पक्ष एकमत है।
From April 2000 to September 2024, India's FDI inflows from the EU reached 117.4 billion US dollars, representing 16.6% of the total 708.6 billion US dollars FDI equity inflow.
And one of the best examples of this partnership is the new Federation of European Businesses in India. It brings together 6,000 EU companies, which have created 8 million direct and indirect jobs in this economy.
This high-level delegation of the European Union College of Commissioners, led by President Ursula von der Leyen, is historic, since it is the first visit outside of Europe by the new College of Commissioners that took office in December 2024. Bureau Report, DD India.
And for an update on this story, we are joined by DD India correspondent Akhilesh Suman, who is joining us from New Delhi. Well, Akhilesh, what's been holding up this India-EU FTA till now?
But before going into that, I will give you a flavor of how it panned out. Because we were told that in 1.5 days, 20 ministerial meetings took place between India and European commissioners. So you can understand that 20 ministers from Indian side and 20 ministers from European side, they sat together in 1.5 days. So you can understand that they want to understand each other in a big way, in a comprehensive way. And as far as that interaction, level of interaction is concerned, in last 18 months, there has been 110 meetings at different levels, right from ministerial level to official level to high level. So they were planning about it for a long time. And this visit is about exposure, about understanding each other so that they can go into summit meeting later this year. And as far as FTA is concerned, that Prime Minister Narendra Modi and European Commission President, they gave a very good instruction, the very strict instruction that by the end of the year, you have to complete it. So whatever differences are, we asked both the sides of officials that you have so many differences, but how can you finish in next 10 months? So they were very sure that the way our leadership has given instruction to us, we have to finish it. There are differences on the question of agriculture products. Europe wants to enter into agriculture marketing in India, and they also want to enter into car market, the wine market, and the liquor market. So I think that India had some hiccup. India also wants that you should remove the carbon tax. So all these things are being talked about, and everyone is having hope that by the end of the year, that it will be done.
Right, Akhilesh. Yes, Akhilesh, also what new areas of cooperation? You talked about, 20 different meetings taking place and several hundred meetings taking place over the last 18 months. So what new areas of cooperation and business interests are we likely to see adding impetus to the relationship?
Yeah, actually, this visit and the relationship that is developing between India and EU is about trade in science and technology, in artificial intelligence, in green hydrogen, renewable energy, and also in defense sector. So I think there is no area of trade that is being left behind. And what is the feeling in both India and European Union that given the fact that Europe wants to de-risk from China, India is the only country that where it can dwell upon, and they are telling that Europe has a technology, Europe has competitiveness, but Europe doesn't have the scale, Europe doesn't have the talent, and it doesn't have the people who can implement those knowledge. So that is why they want to collaborate with India. And also the new situation has arrived because of Mr. Trump, the president of USA. They are also trying to find out that what we can do with India so that we can have the biggest market, biggest open market in the world, and also the biggest talent possible in India, because Indians are going to US, they are creating wealth there. They are giving impetus to technology there. They are doing all sorts of work there in science and technology. So if they can collaborate with India in this point of time, that is going for some more years before stabilizing. So I think before that they want to tap this energy, and that is why in all Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that we have to start a space dialogue. They are
Okay.
going into a space sector also, collaborating in the space sector also. So all these science, technology, and other areas of trade, they are going to collaborate.
Okay, we leave it there. Thank you very much, Akhilesh Suman, for joining us and giving us the broad sweep of what this relationship is all about. Now, moving on to our next story. In fact, it is the same story. Earlier in the day, the second ministerial meeting of the India-EU Trade and Technology Council was held in New Delhi. India's External Affairs Minister, Jai Shankar, along with his cabinet colleagues Piyush Goyal and Ashwini Vaishnav, participated in this meeting with several European commissioners, and the leaders took stock of the significant progress made in digital partnership, clean and green energy initiatives, and trade and investments, as well as resilient supply chains. They exchanged views on new opportunities in semiconductors, AI, 6G, EVs, green hydrogen, and also a mutually beneficial trade regime. Now, the leaders in attendance expressed confidence that today's discussions will translate into a new economic and trade linkage. Further, the External Affairs Minister. Yes, we're going across live now to Washington, D.C., where we have footage coming in from the White House, where the meeting of the President of the United States and the President of Ukraine has just taken place. Let's listen in.
We're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on
position
this
to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly what
this.
you're doing.
I'm not
You're in
dictating.
no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
You
We're
will-
going to feel very
you will
good.
feel influenced.
We're going to feel
I'm-
very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed
From the
yourself
very-
to be in a
from
very
the very
bad position,
beginning
and he
of the
happens
war.
to be right about
From the
it.
very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a
Brown,
good position.
I
You don't
was
have the
saying-
cards right now. With us, you start having
not
cards.
playing
But
cards.
right now, you
I'm
don't.
very
You're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War
What you're-
III.
what you're
You're
speaking
gambling
about?
with
What you're
World
speaking
War
about?
III. And
Yeah.
what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country.
I'm
That's
with
back
all
to you.
respect to your
Far
country.
more than a lot of people said
very
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once this
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States
what
of
you're
America
speaking about.
and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you
He's
can
not speaking loudly. He's not
Yeah.
speaking loudly. Your country is
Can I-
in big
can-
trouble.
can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No.
Can
You've
I
done a lot of
answer?
talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not
I
winning.
know.
You're not winning this. You have a damn
We-
good chance of
we are
coming out
staying,
okay because of
Mr.
us.
President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
You haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this
We
cabinet.
gave you, through
I
this
said thank
stupid
you.
president, $350 billion.
You voted
We gave
for
you
your
military
president.
equipment,
You
and you
voted
men
for
are
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
What about we are
If
speaking?
you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me-
equipment,
you invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak-
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3
okay?
days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. I
Again,
tell you.
just say thank you.
I said a lot of
accept
times
that
thank
there-
you
accept
to
that-
American people.
Accept that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
I understand, sir.
I think it's
I
very
understand.
important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the
I'm
cards.
thankful.
You're buried there. Your people are dying.
tell you
You're
again,
running
I
low
know.
on soldiers.
Don't-
Listen,
don't please,
you're running
Mr.
low on
President.
soldiers. It would be a damn good thing.
Mr.
And then
President.
then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go and I want this. Look. If you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're
I
saying
said-
you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
with guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't
doesn't
with
matter
me.
for you what-
That
what
wasn't
this
with me.
means. It
That was
wasn't
with
with you.
a guy named Biden, who was not a smart person.
But this
That
is
was
your,
with,
this
that was
is
with
your
Obama.
president. It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful, Because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
One more question to Mr. Vice President. I'm sorry.
It's going to be a tough deal to make because the attitudes have to change.
What if Russia breaks ceasefire? What if Russia breaks peace talks? What do we do then? I understand that it's a heated conversation right now.
What are you saying?
She's asking, what if Russia breaks the ceasefire?
What if anything? What if a bomb drops on your head right now? Okay? What if they broke it? I don't know. They broke it with Biden because Biden, they didn't respect him. They didn't respect Obama. They respect me. Let me tell you, Putin went through a hell of a lot with me. He went through a phony witch hunt where they used him and Russia. Russia. You ever hear of that deal? That was a phony Hunter Biden, Joe Biden scam. Hillary Clinton, Shifty Adam Schiff. It was a Democrat scam. And he had to go through that. And he did go through it. We didn't end up in a war. And he went through it. He was accused of all that stuff. He had nothing to do with it. It came out of Hunter Biden's bathroom. It came out of Hunter Biden's bedroom. It was disgusting. And then they said, oh, the laptop from hell was made by Russia. The 51 agents. The whole thing was a scam. And he had to put up with that. He was being accused of all that stuff. All I can say is this. He might have broken deals with Obama and Bush, and he might have broken them with Biden. He did, maybe. Maybe he didn't. I don't know what happened. But he didn't break them with me. He wants to make a deal. I don't know if you can make a deal. The problem is, I've empowered you to be a tough guy. And I don't think you'd be a tough guy without the United States. And your people are very brave. But you're either going to make a deal or we're out. And if we're out, you'll fight it out. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but you'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards. But once we sign that deal, you're in a much better position. But you're not acting at all thankful. And that's not a nice thing. I'll be honest, that's not a nice thing. All right, I think we've seen enough. What do you think? Huh? This is going to be great television, I will say that. All right. We'll see what we can do about putting it together. Thanks, sir. I know this is
and I need the back of your
We'll see. I don't know.
All right, guys, come on. Wait. Hey, let's go. Guys, come on. Let's move, please. Thank you.
Well, we were just watching live images that were coming in from the White House, where the meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has just taken place. We are not able to ascertain as to, whether they are going forward with signing that agreement. As per the references that we've listened to, it appears that that deal is not being signed. And we heard a pretty angry President of the United States turning his attention to the Ukrainian president, saying that he didn't have the cards to act tough, and he only could act tough if the U.S. was on his side. So this is basically what we could make out from this conversation. One would understand that perhaps there is no deal as yet. Using the words of a deal, this is an agreement that is to use rare earths in a joint fund, which would be both a joint fund of the United States as well as of Ukraine. Money that would come from those minerals would be deposited in these funds and would be utilized over time for the development of Ukraine, and also repay American investments or grants, in a sense, which are now being treated as loans to Ukraine during the time when it was defending itself from Russian aggression. Trump, we heard, saying that it was he who gave the javelins, and really it was he who provided Ukraine with the kind of weaponry that was necessary to fight or to stand up against Russian aggression. Of course, we do understand that this war, which is now 3 years old, did begin with Russian aggression into Ukraine. If we're going to play this out again, perhaps it's good to listen to the whole thing. Well, I'm told that we're not going to be able to get the audio of what is being said, but I hope that we do get the whole visual right from the beginning and understand what exactly was said, because we were able to get it from the middle, so to try and make sense of what was happening. We will be joining our correspondent, hopefully in a little while, who has been watching this entire thing on other television networks, international television networks, and will probably help us with all the details. We are waiting for that to happen right now, but I can just summarize for you that in fact it looked like it started off quite well with President Trump greeting President Zelenskyy at the White House. He went out to meet him at the gate and brought him into the White House. After that, it was closed to the media for a reasonable period of time. But when we did finally get a conversation after that, we could hear that Trump was speaking in a rather harsh tone towards the Ukrainian president and telling him that he didn't have the cards for this deal. So let's listen to Jessica, who has been following this. Jessica, you know, were not able to get the entire conversation. So if you've been able to watch the whole thing, could you tell us what actually happened?
Well, that crucial 50-minute conversation or the press interaction that we saw between the two just a short while ago, we don't have the entire clip. I haven't been able to watch all of it, but what I gather from the larger essence of it is the fact that things do not look so well right now with the French president's visit and the UK Prime Minister. A lot was expected from this visit, Mark, of President Volodymyr Zelenskyy to come to a deal, especially either with the one that involves the minerals deal, the critical rare earth minerals deal, and the other, of course, being reaching a peace deal. And from the exchanges right now happening inside the White House, what we've been able to gather is that Trump has categorically told, in fact, Volodymyr Zelenskyy to the effect that you either agree with the deal or not. There are not many options, using phrases like, you know, do not gamble with the idea of World War III. So things quite heated up right now there with, you know, counter arguments happening. There was a moment briefly where the Vice President J.D. Vance also began to explain the effect of what the previous administration had done in terms of easing out the tensions or reaching a particular peace deal. In fact, J.D. Vance seems to be of the view, and he said it quite explicitly, that they did try with their hand on the heart to implement the dialogue and diplomacy way forward to reach a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine, but that was not achievable, not attainable given the current circumstances, given the 50% territory that Ukraine occupies in Kursk, and of course, Ukraine not agreeing to give up 20% of the territory. Of course, on the Russian side would have have its own chunk of the deal, which would be satisfactory to them. So, a very important yet a very difficult conversation, if I may put it, happening inside the White House right now.
Indeed, let me just go through what seems to be coming in through agencies as alerts. President Trump said first that what he had between him and Ukraine was what was considered a very fair deal. Then he said it's a big commitment from the United States that is giving to Ukraine. And he said that he had already spoken to President Putin and he has good relations with Russia. He had started on the topic of the deal. He said that we're going to sign a minerals deal today. That was the way he was speaking. And we're going to take rare earths and use them for all that we do, including artificial intelligence and building military weapons. And he said that you won't go back to fighting, is what he told Zelenskyy. But then something seems to have not gone down too well after that. And Trump said that this would be a very great agreement if we could get the war to be stopped. And you have always, to make compromises, and certainly he will also have to make compromises in referring to Putin. We will have fair arms. We will have arms to Ukraine. We will have arms to Ukraine, is what Trump said. Hopefully, we won't have to send much. And he said he's in the middle of both Ukraine and Russia, which means that he is going to act as the middleman, and he's talking to both sides. I want to get this solved, is what Trump said. I'm very committed to Poland. Europe and NATO have to step in and step up. He spoke to Putin just a couple of days ago. He said that Putin wants to make a deal. There is not any agreement from Ukraine on the purchase of US LNG. And then after that, things don't seem to have gone down too well. He said he's not aligned with Putin. He's aligned with the US. I'm aligned with the US and the good of the world, is what Trump said. And then he went on to say that you are gambling with World War III. You have to be thankful to us. You have to either make a deal or we are out. This is the language that Trump started using in the end. And he told Zelenskyy that you're being very disrespectful to the United States of America. And that's probably when, towards the end, things didn't go too well.
Will continue to come out, Mark, as we speak, because the essence of the meeting, if you'd say, or the big takeaways would continue to come in, would continue to sort of fill in the time that you and I are spending this weekend into, is because of the fact that this meeting, on anticipated lines of what we saw with the French president and the UK Prime Minister, was the fact that Europe was still essential and an important part of this entire peace deal, and of course Ukrainian side, which were not, according to Volodymyr Zelenskyy, included in the talks that took place in Riyadh. And this was somehow, this meeting was to ease those tensions, to come out with a deal and approach it with some sense of dialogue and diplomacy. But what it became in the end was not anticipated, and you come up with a deal.
Jessica, I'm told that we're going to play out the entire conversation once again, so let's listen in.
We have a lot, but we don't have raw earth. So this has just about every component of the raw earth that we need for computers, for all of the things we do. This puts us in great shape.
And on long-term security for Ukraine, how does this provide?
I think they're going to have great luck. I think once we make the agreement, that's going to be 95% of it. They're not going to go back to fighting. I've spoken with President Putin, and I feel very strong. I've known him for a long time. And I feel very strongly that they're very serious about it, and we'll make a deal. And when the deal is made, I don't think, we talk about security. Everyone's talking about the other day, all they talked about was security. I said, let me make the deal first. I have to make the deal first. I don't worry about security right now. We have to have a deal, because right now, last week, 2,000 soldiers died on both sides. 2,000. And they're losing 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 a week. So as we sit here and we talk, people are getting shot and dying on the battlefield. And, they're not American soldiers, but they're Russian soldiers and they're Ukrainian soldiers, and we want to be able to stop it. And we want to be able also to spend money on other things. We don't want to, this is a tremendous amount of money, and what the Biden administration did was terrible. They were giving money, but he had no security on the money. Europe, as you know, gave much less money, but they had security. It was in the form of a loan. They get their money back, and we didn't. And now, at least we're protected, because the American taxpayer has to be protected too. But this is an incredible agreement for Ukraine, because we have a big investment in their country now, and what they have, very few people have. and we're able to really go forward with very, very high-tech things and many other things, including weaponry that we're going to use in many locations, but that we need for our country.
Mr. President,
This allows us to do this.
will you continue?
I'm sorry.
Sending military aid.
Yes, go ahead, please.
If I can just yes. In the document, there is one of the very important points if we speak about business and investment. We never had LNG terminals in Ukraine. This document will open. I mean, the next documents, but anyway, here we see in the framework, we see really goodwill for this. LNG terminals for us is very important, and I think for security of European continent. We have the biggest storage, gas storage. We have the biggest in Europe. Yes, and we can use it. Use it for LNG. Use it for LNG, and we will do it. And really, we can help Europe because Europe really helped. President Trump said that they made less support, but they are our friends and they are our very supportive partners. They really gave a lot, Mr. President. They did.
They gave a lot, but they gave much less.
No.
Much less.
No. No.
No. Okay.
Mr. President Trump, you have repeatedly called the deal with Ukraine as a historical one. And as a President of the United States, you make historical decisions in other issues which affect America and other world. So what place in the world history do you want to take? And do you associate yourself with any famous historical figures?
Yeah, I'd say George Washington, Abraham Lincoln. I would say I'm far superior to George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. Now, you know I'm only kidding, right? Because when I say that, the fake news is going to go wild. They're going to say he considers himself to be better than Washington. But you never know. You never know. I don't compare myself to anybody. I'm here to do a job. We've had a great 35 days or whatever it might be, a month, a little more than a month. We've accomplished tremendous amounts. Not only this would be a very great achievement if we could get the war stopped and get them back to normalization. I think that's going to happen. We've had very good talks on both sides, as you know. But I think we've done a very good job, just generally. If you look at all of the things we've done in 30 days, they're saying there's never been a opening for a president. The first month, there's never been a first month like we've had. And this is one of the very important things. This, to me, is one of the most important things because we have tremendous death taking place as we speak, and I don't want to have that. You know, think of the parents, whether they're in Russia or Ukraine, think of the parents of all these people being killed needlessly.
They came to our territory.
Should have never started. This would have, if I were president, this would have never started.
Mr. President, will you continue sending military aid to Ukraine after the U.S. signs this agreement with Ukraine?
Yeah, we're going to be continuing.
To President Zelenskyy, do you feel like the U.S. is on your side? That President Trump is on your side at this moment?
Right.
What do you think?
He wants to know, do you think that, sort of a stupid question. I guess we wouldn't be here if I wasn't. But,
I think that the United States on our side from the very beginning of occupation, and I think that President Trump on our side, and of course, I'm sure that the United States President will not stop support. This is crucial for us. It's important for us. Yes. And Putin, the president, speaks about the people and the soldiers which are dying, but they came to our territory, they came to our land. They began this war, and they have to stop. And I think this is the question, with really the most important question. Can President Trump, I hope yes, with some other allies, to stop Putin, withdraw these enemies, our enemy, withdraw these troops from our land? And I think that you asked about the history, I think that if President, or when he will stop Putin, if President Trump will bring peace to our country, I think he will be on this wall, I think.
We've had very, very good talks.
Mr. Military aid to Ukraine.
President Zelenskyy just said that there will be no compromises with Vladimir Putin. I just wanted to ask both of you. Firstly, are there compromises that you think that President Zelenskyy is going to have to make? And President Zelenskyy, is there anything that you might be thinking that you may be able to offer or bring to the table, for example, elections? Thank you.
I think you're going to have to always make compromises. You can't do any deals without compromises. So certainly he's going to have to make some compromises, but hopefully they won't be as big as some people think you're going to have to make. That's all. That's all we can do. I'm here as an arbitrator, as a mediator to a certain extent between two parties that have been very hostile. To put it mildly, they've been very hostile. There's been a vicious war. There's been a vicious war. You know, it's a very level battlefield, and those bullets go out, and as I've said many times, we were talking about it with Pete, many times the only thing stopping those bullets is a human body. And in the case we're talking about, generally young human bodies are stopping a lot of bullets. It's dead level. That's why it's great farmland. It's great land. It's great farmland, but there's very little protection against the bullets that are being, and other things that are being shot. So all I can do is see if I can get everybody at the table and get an agreement. And I think we're going to end up with an agreement. Otherwise, I wouldn't probably be even here today.
Mr. President, I've got two questions for you. You think ultimately your legacy will be the peacemaker and not the president that led this country into another war and ended foreign wars? And I've got a question.
I hope it will. I mean, I hope I'm going to be remembered as a peacemaker. This would be a great thing if we could do this. I'm doing this to save lives more than anything else. Second is to save a lot of money, but I consider that to be far less important. So I hope I'm going to, thank you, Brian, for that question. It was a nice question. I hope I'll be known and recognized as a peacemaker. This would be a great thing to solve. This is a very dangerous situation. You know, this could lead to a third world war. This was headed in the wrong direction. If this election were lost, if we didn't win this election, and by the way, we won it by a lot. That was a mandate. We won every swing state. We won the popular vote by millions and millions of votes. We won everything. The districts, you look at the areas of red, take a look at a map. This was a big mandate, and this was one of the things I said, we're going to get this thing settled. If we didn't win, I think this could have very well ended up in a third world war, and that would not have been a good situation. What was your second question?
And my second question for President Zelenskyy. Why don't you wear a suit? You're at the highest, why don't you wear a suit? You're at the highest level in this country's office, and you refuse to wear a suit. Just want to see if do you own a suit?
Yeah, problems.
A lot of Americans have problems with you not respecting the dignity of this office.
I will wear a costume after this war will finish.
Okay.
Yes, maybe one.
Maybe something
like yours. Yes.
That'd be great.
Maybe something better. I don't know. Yeah. We will see. Maybe something cheaper than. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
President Trump. Thank you, President Trump. You said yesterday that you have.
Are you going to send more arms to Ukraine in case there's no peace?
Yeah, we're going to have arms to Ukraine. Yeah, sure. Hopefully, I won't have to send very much because hopefully we're going to have it finished. We're looking forward to finishing this quickly. We're not looking forward to sending a lot of arms. We're looking forward to getting the war finished so we can do other things. But we very much appreciate the agreement because we needed what they had, and we're treating, our country is now treated fairly. Biden didn't do that. He didn't know what the hell he was doing. This should have never happened. This should have never started. But, sure, the answer is yes, but hopefully we won't have to send much because I'm looking forward to getting it done quickly, very quickly.
Does that mean you'll provide security guarantees, Mr. President?
I don't want to talk about security yet because I want to get the deal done. You fall into the same trap like everybody else. A million times you say it over and over. I want to get the deal done. Security is so easy. That's about 2% of the problem. I'm not worried about security. I'm worried about getting the deal done. The security is the easy part. Security is very nice. Everybody stopped shooting. And now will Europe put people there? I know France is going to. I know the UK is going to. I know other countries are going to, and they happen to be right next door. We haven't committed, but we could conceivably, we have security in a different form. We'll have workers there digging, taking the raw earth so that we can create a lot of great product in this country. So in that sense, you have something, but we haven't determined that yet. I will say, in speaking to France and in speaking to, and they were here, as you know, last week and just the other day, they have committed to a lot of security. I don't think you're going to need much security. I think once this deal gets done, it's over. Russia's not going to want to go back, and nobody's going to want to go back. When this deal ends, I really believe this deal is going to be over. Question? Please go ahead.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you so
Mr. President, thank you. You had Mr. Macron and Keir Starmer at the White House this past week, both of whom praised your courage and conviction to lead the pathway towards peace.
Yes.
Part of that involved, though, re-engaging Russia in diplomatic relations, something that previous leaders lacked the conviction to do so. What gave you the moral courage and conviction to step forward and lead that?
Well, I love this guy. Who are you with?
One American News, sir.
Well, that's why I like him. One American News does a great job. I like the question. I think it's a very good question. It's a pathway to peace. It's a pathway to getting something solved. And I feel that as the head of this country, I have an obligation to do that. Plus, we're very much involved. We got involved. It's too bad we got involved because there should have been no involvement, because there should have been no war. And there shouldn't have been October 7th. That would have never happened. As you know, Iran was broke. They had no money to give to Hezbollah. They had no money to give to Hamas. They were stone cold broke. And then under Biden, they became rich as hell. They went from no money to $300 billion in a period of 4 years. And they gave a lot of that money away, and you see what happened. And that's a real mess also that we hope to be able to solve. But no, I appreciate your question very much. I feel I have an obligation to try and do something to stop the death.
If I can answer, yes, if I can answer,
Please,
sorry,
go ahead.
please.
And I do like your clothing, by the way.
Yeah, really?
Even though I think he's a great guy, by the way. But I don't know if you two like each other. But you know what? I think he's dressed.
I like this guy.
I think he's dressed beautiful.
So I have more serious things than answer on such
Yeah,
questions.
sure,
I will answer on more serious
That's a good
questions if I
statement.
can. Yeah. So please, about security guarantees and about just ceasefire. We can't just speak about ceasefire and speak. It will not work. Just ceasefire will never work, because I'm like a president. I have this experience, and not only me. Ukraine before my presidency, from the 2014, Putin broken 25 times. 25 times he broken his own signature. 25 times he broken ceasefire.
But he never broke to me. He never broke to me.
No, you were the president. You were the president during.
He never broke to me.
In 2016, you've been the president, Mr. President. You've been the president, but he had, of course, not with you, but he had during those periods. He had conversations with our side, and we had Normandy format. The France, Germany, Ukraine, and Russia, and he broken 25 times. That's why we will never accept just ceasefire. It will not work without security guarantees. Security guarantees, maybe President is right about this document and other, but this document is not enough. Strong army is enough, because his soldiers afraid, Putin's soldiers afraid of our soldiers when we're strong enough. If we are not strong enough, if we are empty, if our storage is empty, we can't defend our land. Today, he knows that we have all the world knows that we have meeting. Yes, why he's using ballistic? Putin today using ballistic on our hospitals, schools, and etc. Ballistic. So he knows that we are here, and that President Trump is really have goodwill to stop this war. And you hear now the president. So why he's using? So he doesn't want to stop. He doesn't want. But I hope that we will do it. Really, we'll do it. Security, when we speak about security guarantees, when the Europeans are ready for contingents, they need USA backstop. If there will not be United States, we will not never have any contingents, strong contingents from the Europeans, because they don't want to divide alliance, connection between the United States as the main and strongest ally and Europeans. And this is crucial, this is important. That's what we want to speak about very much. This is very important. And air defense. So air defense, really, we have big deficit with all these systems, and we need to provide this. We need it very much. Otherwise, Putin will never stop, and will go further and further. He doesn't want. He hates us. You know, it's not about me. He hates Ukrainians. He thinks that we are not a nation. He thinks, and he shared these thoughts. I think maybe with your team also. I don't know, but with all the Europeans, in media, officially and not, he always said that there is no such country, such nation, such language, and such life like Ukrainian. No, he really doesn't respect all the Ukrainians, and he wants to destroy us. And you are right, Mr. President, that's 2%. This document, maybe other documents, it's a very good start, very good, but it will not enough to stop this person.
Should Russia pay to rebuild Ukraine?
Mr. President, after these
Should Russia pay to rebuild Ukraine?
They have to pay.
This question
This is the rule. This is the rule of the war. This is the rule of the war. During all the centuries, all the history, this is the rule of the war. Who began, those pay. This is the rule. Putin began this war. He has to pay all money for innovation. He has to pay. Of course, some Russian assets, what we have in Europe, about 300 billion, we can use them. We can use for innovation and buy military support from the United States also. We can do it, but it's not enough. It's not enough.
Under these circumstances, do you envision a trilateral summit with Putin and President Zelenskyy?
Wait, 1 second.
I asked this question that you didn't like because I wanted to know if you want to position yourself in the middle between Russia and Ukraine, or on the Ukraine side.
No, I'm in the middle. I want to solve this thing. I'm for both. I want to get it solved. And it's wonderful to speak badly about somebody else, but I want to get it solved. If we can solve it, great. If we can't solve it, they're going to have to fight it out, and who knows what's going to happen. But I want to see it get solved.
May I follow up? One more question about U.S. troops in Europe. After Russian invasion of Ukraine, your predecessor sent additional troops to Eastern Europe, including Poland, my country.
Yeah.
Are you committed to keeping these troops on the eastern flank of NATO in the future?
I'm very committed to Poland. I think Poland has really stepped up and done a great job for NATO. As you know, they paid more than they had to. They are one of the finest groups of people I've ever known. I'm very committed to Poland.
What about Baltics?
Poland's in a tough neighborhood, you know.
What about the Baltics?
The Baltics, they got a lot of, it's a tough neighborhood too, but we're committed. We're going to be very committed, and we're committed to NATO. But NATO has to step up, and the Europeans have to step up more than they have. And I want to see them equalize, because they are in for far less than we're in, and they should be at least equal. You understand that? Why is the United States, we have an ocean in between, why is the United States in for so much more money and other things as Europe? With that being said, and as you said, they've also been obviously very helpful, but we have put in far more than they have, and I think they should equalize.
Mr. President,
please, go ahead.
Can I ask you about the agreement again today? What changed between the first time that Secretary Bessent gave President Zelenskyy the agreement and today for the signing?
We made a deal. So
what was the deciding factor?
I'm a business person. We made a deal. That's what changed.
Mr. President,
I didn't think we were going to make a deal, and we ended up making the deal, so that changed.
Mr. President, what and how do you envision a trilateral summit with President Zelenskyy and Putin?
I don't know, but well, they don't like each other. I can tell you that. Okay? They do not like each other. This is not a love match, and it's unfortunate. That's why you're in this situation. The United States should not have allowed this to happen. Okay? The United States, run by a man that didn't know much. I'm going to be very nice. Run by an incompetent person, very incompetent person, should never have allowed this to happen. I've stopped wars. I've stopped many wars. My people will tell you, I stopped wars that nobody ever heard about. I stopped wars before they ever started. You can look at some of I could give you a lot of nations that would tell you right now they were probably going to war. I could tell you right now there's a nation thinking about going to war on something that nobody in this room has ever even heard about. Two smaller nations, but big, still big. And I think I've stopped it. But this should have never happened.
Mr. President?
Sorry, just a second.
Well, a shouting and scolding session broke out in the Oval Office on Friday between President Donald Trump and the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, who was hoping to appeal to the United States for continued security assistance during his visit to Washington. You're gambling with World War III is what Trump told the Ukrainian president. He also said that you've got to be more thankful because you don't have the cards. And you're not really in a good position right now. Trump had slammed Zelenskyy, raising his voice. You're gambling with World War III, the US president went on. And the vice president also, J.D. Vance, called Zelenskyy disrespectful for trying to litigate the conflict in public. And Trump clear on a ceasefire deal. But Zelenskyy was saying that the ceasefire will not work without security guarantees. So that is the situation. Jessica Taneja is with us. She's watching and she's listened to that conversation twice now, I think. Well, Jessica, so while you were listening to it once again, what did you pick up? The beginning didn't seem to be so bad. It was the ending that seemed to have got off to a bad, it got off to a bad end because Zelenskyy asked for security guarantees in public.
But that's correct, and that has been his demand from the very beginning, Mark, if you would recall. And this deal that he's talking about, the minerals deal, is not something which he's just floated quite recently. This is something that came up in the talks in September last year as well. So it is essentially one of the bargaining tools for the Ukrainian president to just begin with the post-war construction efforts and also in exchange get some security guarantees. For example, the rare earth critical minerals that he was talking about that are yet to be mined, by the way, and could take a few decades to bear the kind of proceeds that the Americans would want out of this. According to Donald Trump, he would want $500 billion. But it is in essence of what was floated around, but in exchange for security guarantees. That is the demand that he has consistently been pressing on. And the problem is that is what the Americans under the current or the current American administration will not provide him with. No boots on the ground, at least no US troops on the ground. With Donald Trump meeting with the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer yesterday, seeming to be of the view that, all right, if the United Kingdom wants to provide security guarantees or peacekeeper troops, that is all right, but no US troops, so to say. And the kind of funding that has been given to Ukraine in the last 3 years of the war has been immense. And America, of course, not just the taxpayers, but the Congress that is breathing down the current dispensation's neck would also want some accountability on how are those dollars being brought back. Because it's not just only limited to how a peace deal could be put forth, but it's also to sort of look at where America gains from this. Because this transactionalism post-war is not new to the American administration as well. You could draw precedents from the Cold War, post-Cold War, where even the Americans once demanded precious crown jewels from the British in return for the kind of military aid they received after the Second World War. So it is not something new. It's just that we're going back to precedents and looking at them in the 21st century in 2025.
Okay, we leave it there. Thank you very much, Jessica Taneja, for your perspective on that. We'll continue with the news here on DD India. Do stay with us. So were taken out of context and deliberately distorted. Mourinho has previously also been fined and suspended for his comments about Turkish match officials. And in India's domestic cricket, day 3 of the ongoing Ranji Trophy final, between Vidarbha and Kerala belong to Vidarbha. The side has attained a crucial first innings lead on Friday. After managing merely 379 in their first innings, their bowlers did well to reduce Kerala from 125 for 3 to 342 all out. Kerala skipper Sachin Baby narrowly missed out on 100 as his team fell, as he fell 98. He was on 98. He made of 235 balls. He was out on 98. Meanwhile, Darshan Nalkande and Harsh Dubey as well as Parth Rekhade, they bagged 3 wickets each for Vidarbha. And with the end of day 3 now, Vidarbha has registered a 37-run lead and they're going to commence their second innings on day 4. A 6.1 magnitude earthquake struck Sindhu Polchok. This is at 2:51 a.m. on Friday. The tremors were felt across Kathmandu Valley and nearby areas in Nepal. The quake triggered a landslide in Dugunagadi in Botekhoshi, which showed cracks appearing in a police post wall in Kodari. So in Kathmandu, 2 people were injured while fleeing in panic. Security teams from the Nepal Army, Nepal Police and Armed Police, they were deployed to monitor. Authorities also have warned of possible dry landslides and falling rocks. Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. For those of you on the go, get the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app's available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code and download it now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. My name is Mark Lynn from all of us here in Delhi. Thank you for watching.